Hey, Michael here with Success for Others, and today I want to talk about probably the most important aspect of your call. And when I say your call, I mean whether it be an in-home estimate, a free estimate, a maintenance visit, a breakdown, anytime that you're actually walking into a homeowner or a business owner or a customer's home, it's really important that we are focused on the right things right from the get-go. I mean, we all know that everybody's going to pass judgment or is starting to form an opinion of people within, what, 3 to 7 seconds? I mean, it's that quick, and they've got an opinion. Whether it's accurate or not, quite frankly, doesn't matter, but people are starting to formulate their opinions. So, a lot of people call it building rapport or building trust. I call it breaking bread. I mean, basically getting on common ground with the customer and making sure that we're on the same page, because I know this for fact, right? Your customers have to like you. They have to trust you if you ever expect them to give you their money. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, people want to do business with their friends, right? They want to do business with people that they're familiar with, people that they can sit back and relax with and just kind of chit-chat with, not somebody that they feel like is trying to always sell them something, or somebody who is foreign to them or is a stranger by any means. So I guess that's the biggest thing that we have to focus on. And so many times, especially as a service technician or an HVAC sales professional, we walk into the house with this agenda, with this process that we have to fulfill. Like, we got to go from A to B to C to D all the way through to F to fulfill this process, and that's just not accurate. I mean, yes, you have a process, and by all means you have to do all the things in that process, but those steps don't necessarily have to go from A to B to C. I mean, they can go wherever the customer wants them to go. That's going to create familiarity, that's going to create comfort in their home, that's going to allow them to feel very familiar with you. And so let the customer kind of dictate that. But here's the biggest thing. When we first walk into the home, we have to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward. That means we're dressing for success. That means our shirts are tucked in. Our hygiene is good. I know you know all this stuff, but do you do it every single time? Do you really take mental inventory on all this? Because you get one shot at setting the example. You get one shot of getting them to initially like you, quite frankly, and when whatever they see is what they're basing it off of. So people do judge book by its cover. It's just the way it is, so get over it. So make sure you're putting your best foot forward every time. When you walk through that customer's home, walk through that customer's door, understand this. 80% of all of your attention, minimum 80% of all your attention, regardless of why you're there, should be on the customer, especially for the first 5, 10, 15 minutes. The longer the better here. It's to really get to connect with the customer. And let's just look at that a little bit deeper. People will like you more. They will be more comfortable around you. You will earn more trust with people if you simply let them talk about themselves. The more you can get somebody else to talk about them, the more they like you. Isn't that crazy how that works? But that's the way things go. So at the end of the day, the more you can get your customers to talk about them, the more they're going to like you. So many service technicians, so many salespeople walk into a house and want to get to step 1 to step 2 to step 3. They want to go to the equipment. They want to start, with some sort of interrogation or questionnaire or comfort survey or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, they want to roll off of their agenda and not off the customer's agenda. So recognize when you walk in that house, the first thing you want to do is get the customer to talk about them as much as possible. 80-90% of your entire visit should be focused on the customer. Only 5, 10, 15, 20% of your time should even be focused on the equipment. That does not mean that you're not doing load calculation, you're not doing measurements, you're not checking the ductwork. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is your attention, your focus, your primary priority, if you will, is the customer. That's it. Because if they don't like you, if they don't trust you, they sure as hell are not going to give you their money. And that's just the way that it works. So here's some basic rules of thumb. Get them to talk about themselves as much as possible. Find common ground, right? I mean, if your kids play on a similar baseball league or football league or Pop Warner or whatever it is, they go to the same school district, you're on the same PTA, you go to the same church. I mean, find some common ground, some things where you have some common interests or some common areas that you and the customer share. If that's not possible and there's nothing that's there, then don't make it up. And And then also, number 2, give a sincere compliment. Now the key word there is give them a sincere compliment. It's got to be sincere. If their house is not gorgeous, don't tell them they have a gorgeous home. Okay? If their yard is not manicured to that of a golf course, don't tell them how beautiful their landscaping is. It has to be sincere. If you have nothing sincere to say, then don't say anything at all. Again, the key is get the customer to talk as much as possible. I personally like to get the customer to laugh. It fits my personality. I'm a very fun, outgoing person. I like to, high five people. If you've ever been in my class, you know I get very animated. I get very excited. That's my style. That's who I am. And so when I walk into a house, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is to get the customer on the same level. So we want to get them excited. I want to talk to them as much as possible about their interests, their likes, their children, their family. I want them to laugh within the first 5 to 10 minutes, and I really want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel comfortable enough with me before I started in my presentation that we could literally sit down and have a meal together. We could break bread together. And that's my goal. So I share that with you so that you can really focus the first 10, 15 minutes of every single call that you go on this week. Focus on that initial contact with the customer. What do you look like? How are you dressed? How do you smell? What's your hygiene like? Are you ready? Are you dressed for success? Do you have a smile on your face when they open the door? Do you give them a good handshake? Do you stand there and really talk to the customer about them and their wants, their desires? Are you spending 5, 10, 15 minutes really understanding all that you can about the customer? Are you making them laugh? You making them smile? You getting them to walk you through the house and show you things that they're interested in? Are they elaborating on conversations with you? If all of those things are happening, if that stuff is taking place, well, then they like you. And if they like you, well, then there's a good chance that they're going to trust you as long as you're looking after their best interest and not your best interest, and you're putting together options that are going to have the biggest positive impact on their quality of life. But if they like you and they trust you, well, then there's a really good chance that they're going to give you their money. They're going to award you the project. They're going to award you the recommendations or the repairs or your company, or sign up for that maintenance agreement, or move forward with that project, whatever it is. So your initial goal, don't rush into your presentation. Don't rush into going to the equipment and getting it all taken care of and diagnosing this thing really quick. And don't rush this process. 5 to 10 minutes of every single call when you walk in that house should be focused 100% on the customer. That's it. The more you get them to talk about themselves, the more they're going to like you. It's amazing the way that works, but it's true. Just the way that it always works out. If you don't think that, if you have any doubt there, go out to a mixer, go to a chamber of commerce or a BNI or a LaTip or a networking group or whatever have you, and get somebody to talk about themselves as much as possible. Say 5 minutes. After that 5 minutes, walk away from that conversation. Have somebody else you're with go up to that person later on in the morning or in the evening or whenever that meeting is, and go up to that person and say, "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm here with that guy right there. I'm here with Michael. That's him right there. I don't know if you guys had a chance to meet yet or not." And listen to what that person will say about you. They'll tell your friend or your spouse or whoever you're with, "Oh yeah, he's a great guy. She's a great person. Yeah, we talked, we met. What an awesome guy." Crazy, isn't it? All you did was have them talk about themselves for 5 minutes as much as possible. You told them as little bit about yourself as possible and had them talk about themselves as much as possible. And they love you. They think you're awesome. They think you're a great guy. Now you can do the exact same exercise to somebody else in the room or at the meeting or at a different mixer, if you will, and go up to somebody and for 5 minutes straight tell them everything about you. Tell them all about you and what makes you so awesome and what you do and all about your kids and all about your house and your interests and your hobbies and all of that stuff. Just go over and have just diarrhea of the mouth on them for 5 minutes straight. It'll actually be tough to do, believe it or not. And then afterwards, have your coworker or have the person you went with, your spouse, whatever it is, go up to that person later on in the evening and go, "Oh yeah, I'm here with that guy right there, Michael. I don't know if you had a chance to meet yet or not." And listen to the response now. The response that my wife got was, "Yeah, we met." That was it. They weren't stoked. They weren't jacked. They didn't care. They knew more about me, and they didn't like me anymore. Matter of fact, they liked me less. Okay, which is tough to deal with. But at the end of the day, the more you can get other people to talk about themselves, their interests, and all of that, the more they're going to like you. And the more they like you, the more chances they're going to do business with you. So please do not rush this rapport building section of your calls. Do not rush the breaking bread portion. If they're busting out family photo albums by the end of your call, guess what? You're in really good shape. If they're offering you iced tea or coffee, or they make cookies, or they made you a sandwich, or they're inviting you over for dinner or for this weekend's barbecue, guess what? There's a really good chance that you're going to end up doing business with this customer for many, many, many years to come. So that should be your goal. I mean, let's face it, customer satisfaction today is completely useless. It's dead, it's over, it's gone. The minimum expectation is that you're going to make me satisfied. If you don't satisfy me, you're never coming back in my house. The real goal is customer loyalty. And the only way you're going to achieve customer loyalty is by getting people to really like you, to trust you, and want to be around you. See, today's sales, there's no scripts, there's no high pressure, there's none of that stuff. It's all about relationships. You know what? I do business with people I like to be around, and so do you. So make sure every house that you walk into, that you're somebody that other people want to be around. So many times we walk into houses and let that last customer, or that last phone call, or that conversation we had with one of our children or our spouse or a parent or whoever it is, affect how we go into that next call. Don't do that. Don't answer your phone for 15 minutes, 10 minutes between calls. I don't know what to tell you, but shut it off. When you cross that sidewalk, walking up to the front door, everything gets left in the truck. Everything gets left in the car. Shut it down. 100% of your focus should be on that customer. The last piece of advice I'll give you on this whole build and rapport thing is, if you carry your cell phone on your hip or in your pocket or wherever you carry it, make sure it's on silent. Make sure it's on vibrate. There's nothing more annoying than somebody walking into the house, having a conversation, you just start to answer some questions, you start to get on a roll, and then somebody's phone starts ringing and lighting up. It's just completely distracting. Actually it's rude. So make sure that when you're walking up there, turn your cell phone to vibrate. Bottom line is, whoever's calling you can wait till you're done building rapport with the customer, because that's the most important part of the call. You'll see that they miss, you see how many calls you miss. Call them back when you go out to your truck, when you get your tools, or you do whatever. So again, this week, all I want you to focus on, every single house that you pull up to, is really getting to a level of breaking bread with people. I want you to really focus on the first 5, 10, even 15 minutes of that call on getting the people to like you, to trust you, to laugh, to smile, to share with you personal experiences. I want you to give a sincere compliment if you can. I want you to find common ground if you can. And I want you to spend at least 80% of your time, energy, and focus on the customer, and the remaining time on the equipment or on the need, the reason why you were called. So that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's edition. If you got any questions, make sure you reach out to us at any time. We're here to help you, and of course, go forth and be profitable.